Welcome to the Talkies.
Hey.
We back.
Hey. We back.
And what I mean by that is we're
action.
back in the same room together.
That's true.
I've missed you.
Thank you. Me too.
You, not so much.
No.
Missed you.
Thank you.
So you didn't notice we're not in our typical studio. We're in a house.
We're in a house, yeah.
Yeah, because Talkies is living and living room is living. So living.
Thematically,
So we
it all
figured-
gels.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
The
Good.
theme is
This
the
is
same.
filmmaking right now.
We're here to talk about Samsara.
Yep.
Samsara, what is that?
Because
Because it's
we
the most
here at the
requested
Talkies,
movie.
we listen to the viewers. We want to bring you what you want. We are covering the movies here that the people want to hear about. So, boom, Samsara.
Yeah.
Samsara.
By
It is.
popular demand.
Yep.
Yes.
Grick, Kevin Grick, is that his name?
Frick.
It's something Frick, yeah. Like
Robert Frick.
Rob
Yeah.
Frick.
Yeah.
Bobby Frick.
Bobo Fricky.
I thought his name was kind of.
Bobo Frick. That's the guy.
What's the? We didn't make Star Wars Hour.
Yeah, we didn't make it.
Babu Frick.
Bobby Frick.
That's funny. Wow, that took less than
So-
3 minutes.
Yeah.
So Babu Frick directed Samsara.
Yes. Which is funny because Robert Frick did work on Star Wars films. He's worked on 3 of them.
Yeah. That's right.
prequels.
Yeah, he was on the prequels. He was part of like the camera crew,
Nice.
camera team.
Yeah.
Nice.
So now let's actually talk about the movie we're here to talk about today. So Samsara, first of all, how would we all define what this movie is?
So the way we watched was Amazon, and on Amazon it has a little genre, and it says documentary.
So you call this movie a documentary?
No,
What do
I
you
would
call this
not.
movie?
I don't even know what I would call this movie. Like the most basic I could get would say artsy documentary, but I can't even go that much because it's not
Artsy is a pretty loaded term.
right. Well,
Yeah.
so is documentary is what I mean. This has almost no narrative, and it's almost it's not pure expressionist because there's
No,
there's
it's
a
not.
thorough line of logic there, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. A lengthy music video, a thematic music video.
I'm more comfortable calling this a documentary than I am the films of Michael Moore
You know,
and
that's
other films that are considered
that's-
some of the most popular documentaries.
Yeah, you know what? The documentary that we did go see,
Apollo 11.
Apollo 11. Yeah.
That was a true documentary.
Yeah.
that
I was
one's
thinking
cool.
about that,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, like, compared to other documentaries, what is Samsara? That I thought of Apollo 11. I'm like, it's actually pretty close.
Yeah.
If I think about it that way.
Yeah, it actually it's literally documenting real things
Right.
happening.
Yeah.
However, its agenda is
It's quite different.
very very different.
Yeah.
It's like to me, Samsara is like it's like a movie that would have been made to be sent along with the gold record on Voyager 1. It's like this movie needs to be
Yeah.
like sent into
Yeah.
space for aliens to
See,
see or something.
I thought that I thought there was a documentary. Maybe this is the one I'm thinking of, Samsara, but I thought there was something that everyone called a documentary that was supposed to be like Planet Earth, except it was just all visual. I thought that's what Planet Earth was, but I never actually watched Planet Earth, so I wasn't sure.
Planet Earth has a narration.
It's narration. Okay, so then maybe this is the doc I was thinking of.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's also his other film is much very similar.
Baraka?
It feels a little more positive. It's called Baraka.
Yeah.
And his overarching theme in that one was trying to evoke a sense of gratitude of a blessed state.
Yeah.
And so most of the visuals had more of like an uplifting bent.
As opposed
Right.
to what
Whereas
this
this one,
was, yeah.
this one's pretty bleak at times.
At times.
But you know, I felt like the whole thing was like this continually cycling between themes of birth, life, also equated with suffering and death,
Yeah.
and starting over
Yeah,
again.
I want to say,
Which is what Samsara means, basically.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how massive the theme is here.
Yeah.
It's not that it's massive; it's broad.
It's broad. Yeah, no, it's a giant.
That's how I would define this: is that we're talking about it's a documentary, but whereas, say, Super Size Me has a theme that's
Right.
so specific that it
Right.
could be spelt in a sentence. You know, it's just
Right.
like
Yeah.
Whereas this is a very broad concept.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to show you visuals from around the world to help you feel a concept.
Yeah, and it is like an art piece in that sense.
Yeah.
That's why it feels more art than most documentaries.
Yeah.
Even though there isn't anything in Samsara that is fictional or made up at all.
Right.
Which is really cool. And yeah, there is that theme that's just like constant throughout of like, I don't know, I thought it was cool how like I got this theme of like having things in common in like a dark way, even though like there's like cultures different, like the one sequence where they show a lot of the African tribesmen with rifles and like assault rifles, and they're all whole cultural getup and all that, and they have assault rifles, and then we cut to an American middle class conservative looking family standing there with their guns too.
Right.
And I thought that was a really strange juxtaposition that humanity has such a diverse subset of cultures and people and all that, but then we still like gravitate towards guns, which is kind of interesting.
Well, and
just to think about.
Yeah, and I think it's that he's suggesting that the samsara cycle is what binds all humanity together. We have all this common ground, even though we live in a world where in one part of the world there are people investing money into making sex robots,
right?
And in another part of the world, people are literally carrying baskets of sulfur rocks on their shoulders down a mountain, you know, to make a living. Like that's happening in the same world, and yet we're all on the same roller coaster.
Yeah. That is really cool.
I mean, he could have verbally said that in
That would have been so much
like
better
a 3-minute movie.
Why didn't you just say it?
Better this way.
Something we haven't even said yet.
Do we even like it?
Yeah. Who likes the movie and who what?
You go first.
You guys introduced this to me.
Kenny introduced it to me. Me and Kenny watched it. Kenny showed it to me a while back.
Yeah, this is my third time.
Your third time?
Yeah.
When was the first time that you watched it?
First time was in a theater with my cousin Chuck.
Oh,
Awesome.
you told me about that.
Got to see it in theaters.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Which I saw in theaters.
Yeah, this was a crazy thing. I very much like it. Very, very, very much like it.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I loved this movie. I loved it the first time. I loved it more the second time.
Yeah, I think a second viewing and third viewing would make me like it more.
Yeah. It's honestly one of my favorite documentaries.
Yeah.
And it is only fueling my what is becoming a fairly extreme view of what documentaries should be, and really makes me want to kind of push that.
I like
edge.
that.
Like I want to make stuff like this.
Well, you know what's neat about something like this kind of I don't want to say narrative because it's not really a narrative, but like informational, I guess, visual informational thing. There's a YouTuber who does something similar. You know him, Crobcat. He makes statements by piecing together like news things, like pieces of
found
news
footage,
things.
basically.
Yeah. Basically, just like puts like a bunch of footage together, and then the footage that already exists creates a context, and then you get something from the context. And I like that kind of storytelling because it's basically visual storytelling, right? It's like I think it's the kind of storytelling that I think every film should do, where if like you're saying lines, the lines that you're saying should show something as opposed to say something. And I really like that about this movie in particular because there's no dialogue.
Yeah, it is
or
literally like cinematography, the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous movie. There's a shot in here which it's kind of a basic shot. I texted you when it happened, but I saw a shot in here that's probably my favorite shot I've ever seen. Just ever. And it's a very basic shot. It's not that impressive, but it really connected with me. And it's all it is a push in, because there's so many push ins in here, right? It is a push in between two rocks, and there's two stripes of rocks going on either side of the camera, and they're both approaching the camera so fast because they're shooting on a wide lens, and when they're pushing forward, it creates this amazing parallax that's like super dynamic.
I remember that.
And I really, really, really like that shot. And it's just purely for aesthetic purposes. But
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not very often that we have a documentarian who is a master cinematographer. Same person, right?
You're right. Yeah.
You know,
I saw that.
It's not a documentarian working with a cinematographer.
Right.
It's like this is a guy who speaks through camera.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's unique in that respect. Apparently, he collected footage for this movie for 25 years.
I absolutely believe it. It's funny because I was thinking while I was watching it, I'm like, I wonder how long he photographed everything. Because I'm like, there were shots in here that like would take years of planning. Like there's like 2 or 3 hyperlapses in here in the desert,
right?
That are similar. Like this, like you have a skim across the water on one shot, and then the night passes, and then we have stars rise and everything, and then it goes into daytime, and then he has the exact same shot, same angle and everything, in a desert, in a building, as the sand goes over.
Right.
And then
which means he would have to know like when the moon is going to be in the right spot.
Exactly.
And knowing when to cut at that time, knowing that he's going to put those 2 shots together.
Just knowing
and then at the same time, he probably had some stuff that was spur of the moment. Right. Like catching all that the debris after Katrina.
Right.
Yeah.
Or or even that rock shot. I feel like that was the only shot of that kind in the movie.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, it's definitely really makes this a really unique film to watch, and it gives the film a really unique vibe because of how like some of the cinematography actually kind of reminded me of like Christopher Nolan cinematography, and all the push ins and these huge compositions that make it feel like this huge scope, big budget, like cinema. Like it like screams cinema.
Value.
Cinematic. Yeah, it literally felt so cinematic.
To the extent to where some of the locations they show, my brain wants to say it's not real.
Yeah, like they built something.
That opening, the opening location, I don't know where it is in the world, but they do this pulled back, they show the whole landscape, and it's just dotted with all these temples, right?
That specific shot too.
Of them.
Yeah, for me too.
And I just remember being like, this is a real place?
That's the first thing I said.
Why isn't this picture on every postcard and why have I never seen this?
Yes, so many of those.
This is like Naboo.
Yeah, exactly. So many of those moments happened in the movie where I said the exact same thing in my head. I was like, how come I've never seen this before? This is insane. Like
how is this Earth?
Yeah, the shots in Dubai alone. With the beach,
the manufactured beachfront property,
with the houses and stuff.
I've never seen that before. And
that's really insane. They went out and they made.
They made
so they could sell more beach.
Dubai does.
Yeah,
but that was insane. The like you said, the shot with the temples was crazy.
Yeah, some of the desert stuff seemed really alien.
I feel like he, and maybe this is why it took 25 years, but he seemed to have had access to things that people typically don't get to shoot.
Yeah.
There were several moments where he tied one location to another or one setting to another sort of thematically. And I thought cutting from, the fully painted ceremonial look woman and the craftsman making a sex doll, painting the face on the sex doll back and forth was a little wild.
And going from there, from like the sex doll to the go-go dancers, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Like it just worlds apart. But like it made me look at the shot with the go-go dancer, and I'm like, oh, is that a robot? Which is what I'm sure he was trying to say.
And they cut. They ended that sequence with one of the dancers doing the long look into the camera.
Right.
And at first I was like, oh, that's one of the robots.
The robot, right.
And it wasn't.
which drives home the point.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. Yeah. I have one tiny nitpick of this movie that I had when you showed it to me also, Kenny. And that was with those robots, those lifelike robots, is the little sound effects.
The sounds they were clearly added in.
I didn't
They're like
that.
A little over the top.
Yeah, a little much for me.
I didn't like those either.
It was a little much. I liked most of the sound effects in here, but
I did too. That's literally the only thing I can critique.
That's the only thing. I loved when there's shots when clearly you can't hear the audio of this thing, but they made it anyway, and it's like the kid who's opening the plastic bag on a rooftop that's clearly 500 yards away or something, and you hear this
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, that's amazing. That's so good.
Yeah, attention to sound design.
Yeah, a lot of it too. It reminds me, and I thought it was going to, but it reminds me a lot of Third and the Seventh and Watchtower of Turkey.
Yeah.
Like it was like a much slower version of Watchtower of Turkey. And
See, I had a feeling this would come up because
Yeah.
I know you love that
I
Watchtower
love
of
it, yeah,
Turkey. And whenever I've described Samsara to you, you've mentioned that movie.
Yeah.
And I've never liked equating the two because something about Watchtower of Turkey feels more like travel journal.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas, but it's got some really cool
Yeah.
visual technique that's like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas this, I mean, the editing is just extremely straightforward and simple.
It's really, really good in here too.
Though the editing's good,
Yeah.
but it's not flashy.
No, it's not
That's
the
what I
star
mean.
of the show.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is more. It's the poetic element of this that I think makes it a different beast altogether.
No, I mean, you can't compare the two, but I mean, it reminds me of it because of like for example, Senna is a documentary that uses, I think, the same techniques that this guy did, Robert Frick, where they have no dialogue. Actually, in Senna they do have dialogue, but it's not ever spoken to the camera. It's just stuff that you hear off site or on the radio or something like that. But they try to tell a story without telling anything, and it's like you don't even really get a story from it. And I kind of didn't like Senna because of that, but I like it more in this movie. But even so, the reason why I bring up Watchtower over Turkey is because it has a lot of similarities where we're putting visuals together to create an emotion, and that's pretty much it. The reason why you're doing it is different. Sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
and especially compared to like Senna, because Senna is more of a straightforward documentary compared to
compared to this. Yeah.
Samsara, because Senna, at least, like, I haven't seen it, but it's like a true story.
Yeah.
And there is like a story that's being documented. It's all found footage, so it wasn't created for that movie.
Right, but there's
Whereas like Samsara was like all like set out to make an art piece, more or less.
Right. And I could definitely see that. The elements of Senna that make me think about it is, and I think maybe you guys would like Senna a lot.
I feel like I would probably like that movie.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to check it out for a long time.
It's the elements that make me think about it is simply just the shots of things that are happening and then juxtaposed with each other, and that's it.
Gotcha.
You know, just to create an emotion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And that's
I,
it.
I think this concept is actually attempted and pulled off pretty often, but it's always in short subject, right? It's always very short.
Yeah.
And that the idea of doing something like this in a feature length is almost crazy.
Well, I mean, not gonna lie, I got bored, a few times because the rhythm is just not there for me. It was clearly poetic, and I loved a lot of the stuff. But like the first 3 minutes for me were like, I just didn't care. Like they're clearly beautiful shots, But I'm like, why am I staring at these women? And then I'm going to a volcano. I'm like, okay, so the volcano is cool. Wow, that's neat sound effects. And then we got the one girl doing or about to do the dance, and then we cut away to Samsara, and I'm just like, okay, so maybe I'm not trying to put anything together here, but I'm like, I don't sense a theme.
It's just the intro. It's just cold open.
I thought the theme was the strongest in the opening sequence.
Maybe if you rewatch it, maybe. I mean, for me, I even like when it was ending, or when it got to the middle, and then as it started to end, I was starting to see themes like connect more, and I was thinking, oh wow, I wonder if this is actually more succinct in the beginning, and I just wasn't paying attention as much. But then there's also rhythm in this that takes so much, that like the music is so big of a piece of the rhythm in this whole film. And without the music it would be so different. And with it, there's some parts of the music that it dips, and we just kind of get just shots that aren't as creative, like wide shots of tall buildings, for example. Like it creates what you would call affinity, right? Something that locks contrast. And most of his shots have very, very, very strong leading lines in contrast where your eyes go places. But then when you just have pure affinity, when you just have pure just buildings just in the distance and they're just going, there's no pattern, it's just kind of there. And he sits on those shots for just as long as he sits on the other shots. It gets boring, and I'm just like, okay. I'm starting to get aware that I'm feeling.
The only thing that got me boring was I felt like there were a few too many time lapse shots.
I felt that way too.
Yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, we just saw the moon move across the sky.
Yeah. There was a couple like transitional moments that I felt could have been maybe a little stronger. Like Kenny, you mentioned before we even started recording your favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, I have a caveat with that, but go ahead.
The clay man who rubs clay all over his face.
Right. Yeah.
That sequence, obviously, awesome, amazing, really cool guy, to performance artist. But the transition from that into what comes next, I think the next shot is literally like, after that, they cut to like one of the women, one of those girls, and she kind of makes like a face, like a and then it cuts to like a water park, and there's a bunch of people floating around in time lapse.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was kind of a weak transition because
it just came from such a strong moment.
Yeah, it came from such a strong moment, and then I felt like that shot of the girl making the face kind of was supposed to like be like, whoa, that was pretty weird, huh? That's kind of what I got from that.
Like a YouTube moment?
Yeah, literally. That's kind of like, because she made this kind of goofy face after this really strange moment, and then we cut to a time lapse of people floating in a lazy river.
I thought the way I interpreted that, just before you answer, was I felt like it was himself like winking, like being like, yeah, that was absurd, right? Okay, let's continue.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what kind of made me feel weird.
Yeah. And I can understand that because like if you're getting a little more self-aware about your expressionism, then it feels weird. It's like it's not expressionist anymore. Now you're suddenly aware of the audience. You shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. So Clayface is, to me, the most memorable and interesting part of the whole movie. I love that sequence. I've on many instances scrubbed through this movie to show people that scene because I think it's so cool as like a performance art piece.
Yeah.
But I think it's the hardest to defend part of the whole movie as in terms of its inclusion in the whole. And I get the sense that it was something that he captured that became one of his babies that he was in love with. And I could almost feel that someone knew in the edit that this
wasn't quite it.
That isn't gelling, but it's like, I want it in. I love it too much. You know, it's just a baby he couldn't kill. Yeah. I think it's actually a tighter movie without Clayface.
I think it is too. I mean, to be honest, that's the same thing. I felt like it was a really interesting sequence. Mm-hmm. Clearly, that can't not be interesting. But yeah, did it feel out of place? Most certainly, it felt out of place.
Because leading up to that, we had pretty strong emotional flow going, and then after that, you go into this crazy combination of scenes of literal like clockwork motion in different places in the world.
Yeah.
That footage of Mecca time lapse is the most
that's
insane
that is
thing.
So crazy,
right?
Yeah.
And so that little vignette in the middle, it's just like, it's weird. It's like an intermission.
It is, yeah. It is like an intermission, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't say how it even ties into the theme. I really can't.
I don't know. I want to say that I forgot what I was going to say. You were going to say something.
Yeah, I kind of always I never felt like that scene ever did like connect to the themes of anything else, and I always did get the idea that like
it's cool though.
Yeah, he's like this is a cool thing. I've always kind of been okay with it in there because, well, obviously I love it because it is cool.
Yeah.
But it kind of feels like, I think the first time I watched it, I was more under the impression of like I was just taking everything at face value. I was not trying to put things together at all. It was completely aesthetic. And then the second time around, it was a little bit more thematic for me. I was picking up more on stuff. So I think I did feel that a little bit more on the second time, that it was kind of out of place. So that's interesting.
The out of place kind of feeling that I got from it was less of the subject matter and more of the directed flow.
Well, it's performance. It's
Sure.
the only thing where someone's like, I'm acting for a camera.
Here, let me do my get my stick.
Yeah. So I have kind of a bigger not qualm. qualm's a worry. It's not a qualm.
Are you worried?
I'm worried about it.
I'm worried about that. I'm worried about this thing.
Yeah, I have a thing about this movie, and it's the way he portrays people, and I don't know what it is because I'm not sure how to define it, but this is the way my brain thought, right? We're looking at this movie that clearly it starts on people, right? It starts just on the faces of these girls that look crazy as they're dancing, but you can tell there's a person behind there. You can tell there's a person performing, and when there's other people doing other stuff, you can tell they're people doing real people stuff, you know. And then he goes into this massive like shots of just crazy things like the abandoned places and then factory farming, and then he goes back into the smalls again of each individual worker. But then because he keeps going in and out like that, he makes the people seem as if they're just kind of Legos in a playset that are just it's about something bigger. And I like that he keeps going inward to talk about the intimacy of the people. But the only times that I felt like any of those shots were intimate were when the people weren't aware of the camera, when they were just kind of just doing their own thing. One of my favorite shots of anyone is one Chinese worker who's in the middle of
and she looks up
and notices the camera.
Yeah,
that part was awesome because you get like a slight little like that's a hint of realism there.
Yeah,
but everything else is so directed, and I didn't.
You mean the ones when they're like staring into the lens?
Yeah, because you can't not have. I mean, it's a filmmaker.
That's
thing.
not everything else, because there's a ton of footage of people who seem to not even be aware they're there.
There's some, but I mean like most of the shots that we have people just staring into the camera, those people are clearly being directed. Hey, don't move.
Sure,
you know. Or they may have gotten one or two times where someone was staring into the camera and they just, oh man, stop. You know, let's just record this moment. But most of them are hey, stop right there. Okay, don't move. Don't smile. I see a lot of that, and I'm just like this makes it feel unintimate. It makes it feel weird to me.
What I liked about that is it made the whole thing felt really existential to me. The whole film felt very existential. And it was like an existential meditation on like humanity, is how I took the directorial, that kind of directing stuff. It felt like an alien coming down and like highlighting how interesting humanity is.
I can see that. I could see that to me it feels like that's the surface level part, and it only feels like that because it's the filmmaker in me that I can't get the person who's behind the camera out of my head.
See,
right?
I had a little bit of both, but I have a positive spin on it, you know, because I could feel definitely what you're saying.
Yeah.
But how I saw that was, I'm the filmmaker and I'm writing this poem, and you want something to. Basically, it's connective tissue. It's right. I'm going to show these people from all over the world doing crazy things.
Right.
And the one thing I'm going to ask everyone to do is look straight into the camera for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to use that as my beat to say, look, we're all the same.
Right.
We're all different and we're all the same.
I think that comes though from because this is your stuff, right? Documentarian as you are, because you make documentaries. I feel like that's the kind of flow that you get into anyway.
Yeah.
And to me, I guess because I don't see documentaries a whole lot, it feels like they shouldn't be acted as much, or they shouldn't be as directed as much.
Yeah.
And so if I feel that, then it feels a little bit awkward to me.
Because this is like way less directed than most.
Way less. Yeah, absolutely.
And I was also going to say that I feel like this movie kind of has its own rule book it plays by.
Absolutely.
That's true.
It does. Yeah. No, I mean, we can't say anything about that. But I think it's because I mean, all of us look at movies differently, subjectively, but I mean, like if you look at a movie and it's going one way that you think it's going to go, and then you see something that's contrasted with that way, that stands out, right? I mean, that's the reason why we have different opinions in the first place. And the way that I look at documentaries is the same way kind of that I look at just narratives, where I'm like, okay, so it's going this way. Wait, what was that? And then it just catches me off guard. So yeah, so it kind of breaks the immersion for me a little bit.
Fair enough.
There was one.
I'll give you that.
There was one other part where it felt overly directed to me, and it was the sand mandala part. I loved absolutely that whole
Was
sequence.
it the kids?
It was the kids.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
look
when they're
back
all
up
looking
at the
up.
kids and they're all like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, this is a Spielberg film suddenly. Yeah.
I like that about it.
You can't do that. You can't like something that I don't like, Taylor. That doesn't work.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I actually like that shot a lot too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I agree with you.
I agree with you.
I agree with you, but I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, because the first shot back at the kids was
Yeah.
of them actually looking at the art.
Yeah,
So the eye line was like below camera.
yeah.
And then they do a second shot where they're basically looking right down into the
Right
camera.
to the camera, yeah.
And I could completely... I don't feel like he was trying to fool anybody that he was like magically
think so.
underneath the sand painting or
Yeah,
something.
no, but it felt like a narrative part in a documentary.
Yeah.
And like you said, Taylor, like we can't... It's playing by its own rules, and I get that. It was the feeling that it gave me.
How about
Sure.
that exercise program at that prison?
Yeah, dude, that looks like fun.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy.
I want to go.
I would sign up for
prison
that
there.
class.
That
Those guys were into that.
Acid house going on.
That had to have been Korea, right? These had to have been Korean people.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Philippines.
Something.
Where was that?
I love
That was
it.
insane.
That one shot where someone, one of the authority figures was overlooking the whole dance.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was-
she was just
yeah.
standing there.
Yeah. See what gives that shot power to me, besides the just the absolute powerful shot, is that it didn't look like it was directed to me.
Yeah.
It looked like she was already standing there, and
Yeah,
he just got
just
behind
kinda
her.
went behind her.
Yeah, and
That was awesome.
Yeah, like it was like just something that just already exists, and so I'm thinking, holy shit, that's powerful. That's really
Yeah.
cool. But if he told her, hey, stand right here real quick, then it makes me think, I guess he didn't capture it in the moment. And I don't know. I like to think that he captured all of this in the moment. That makes it more powerful to me.
I'd like to say a few things about the response to this movie,
If you
which
must.
has been really
If you
interesting.
must.
I haven't looked into any of this.
So I read a bunch of reviews,
Ooh.
and that was fascinating because they were really split.
Oh, yeah.
Some people loved this movie, some people really hated it.
Yeah.
And of the haters, they were split into two camps. So one camp was like, I hate this movie because it doesn't tell us anything, right? We're bouncing all over the world. There's no title that says "Meanwhile in South Korea," right? It's just so ambiguous and unclear. And then there's this other camp that says, I hate this movie because it is so on the nose, jamming a message down our throats.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I love that. That's so cool.
I thought that was hysterical.
That's so funny.
I was wondering if you guys identified at all with either it being too obscure or too on the nose.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because while watching the factory farm part in particular, and then going into the guns and all this stuff, I was thinking, can anyone photograph this kind of stuff without getting any kind of bias in there, right? Like could someone just
how do you do it not on the nose?
exactly how
Right.
how do you get a shot of a factory farm and not say anything about it? Like, to me, he didn't say anything about it, but someone
Right.
else might have been in a different mindset. So
Yeah, like I think that's the power of real documentary footage.
Yeah.
Right? Is if anyone's seeing that footage of the meat prepping factory and saying, "Oh my gosh, here comes another anti-animal or anti-meat documentary,"
Right.
then that's their own lens coming to
Yeah,
it,
it
not
is.
not the film itself.
exactly, yeah,
You know?
exactly. I think that's definitely. Well, I'll let you go.
There were some parts where like I was like on the fence of whether deciding I felt like it really was on the nose or like too on the nose. But yeah, I pretty much came to the same like question you did pose just a minute ago. It's like, what if it, like, how do you show something like that in that sequence and not have it be obvious that the message is like kind of highlighting the cruelty of that? And like, but I kind of just think that's fine.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
That machine that scooped up all the chickens looked like something from a Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah.
Isn't that
It
wild?
reminded me of Okja a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It's funny because this was the first time in a documentary or any kind of real footage of a chicken coop that I watched it and I was like, oh, that's neat. That's a neat apparatus. I wonder how. Oh, wow. So that's how they do that. Like it was like a
Learning.
Yeah, it was like how they make
How
sure
your chicken is made.
Yeah,
Like, oh, that's
yeah. It was
fascinating.
like a how they make thing. It didn't seem like he was
making
bent
a point.
on trying to do any angle or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
because I felt like it was simultaneous. I felt like it was more about the people than the animals.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I loved the idea of like those the people making the dumplings all together,
Yeah.
and they're in like full on white hazmat suits, like goggles, face mask,
Oh, you
everything.
mean shopping clothes?
Yeah, just
they're wearing grocery
contemporary
They were just-
shopping
yeah,
clothes.
contemporary shopping.
2020 shopping season clothes. And I thought it was interesting to think about like this is your chef.
Right.
It's like this is your chef.
Yeah.
This person on a
Yeah.
factory
That's
line.
funny.
Yeah,
I
but
was
I
thinking
felt
about
like
that
the shots were creating much more empathy with the fact that here are people who their life
Yeah.
is about getting up, all lining up in their yellow shirts and running into the factory so they can piece together an iron.
See, okay,
You know?
that's what it was. It was, I think, when he frames shots with other things like that. Because, like, for example, you were talking about how some people see this as a biased thing.
Yeah.
If you show the workers happy at all, then why would you include that in a documentary about something that's bad?
Right.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
because
Yeah.
it counters your point.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
because it's about people.
Yeah, because
Right,
it doesn't
'cause
have a specific.
It's about saying this is the state of this people.
Yeah.
Here's the state of this people.
Exactly, yeah.
And we all die and we all live.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah, that's
exactly.
what I mean when I say it's an existential movie.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It is very much. And I think the last shot, like you said, the Mecha thing, it's like the most incredible shot ever.
When they're all going
The
around.
whirlpool.
Yeah.
The whole whirlpool thing, and they're all bowing.
It's almost like scary.
It is. Almost,
Yeah.
It made me think of being down in that. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It looked like a universe, like a galaxy.
Yeah, it's
To me,
orbiting. Yeah.
It's scary, like psychologically, almost.
Yeah.
Right. To where you think if how many people, the sheer amount of people that can all think one way, I think
Right.
is a very strange thing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's really
Intense
cool to visualize.
culture, yeah.
Yeah.
And then showing it through that way, and everybody down there is like on the same level of intense passion
Yeah.
Yeah.
for this belief.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it is really interesting
Yeah.
and
that-
profound.
That's why I love the beginning so much. Is
Yeah.
The opening of the movie has some live people dancing, right? That's life. We have the volcanic lava flow. That's birth. You know, that's Earth. Growing new Earth being created in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And then we see the corpse of an infant or a
Yeah.
fetus.
Right.
Yeah, that one's so.
And a mummy, like
Yeah.
a mummified
Right.
person.
Right.
And so it's like here's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you let that sink in, and if you just kind of stay in that space, all the other visuals have like this significance.
Yeah.
Even the time lapse of the moon moving across the sky, it's like all this is still going on and happening,
Right.
regardless of if you're fighting in a war,
Absolutely.
suffering,
I think
celebrating.
I think the shots symbolize that, what you're talking about. And for anyone I think who's directed very visually with movies like me, would see those objects as just objects instead of symbols.
Yeah.
And so when you're saying life, death, instead I see mummy, tomb, volcano.
Right.
I'm like, okay, so is this going to be about volcanoes? I mean, what's going on?
Which is why I'm so tickled that you like the movie at
Right.
all. Like I was really prepared for you to just be almost have nothing to say about this movie because you'd be like, interesting movie about nothing.
Well, it had because it had a theme a lot. I mean, I won't pretend like I haven't changed since we've gotten together and watched all these weird movies. I have, and my view has changed a little bit, but I want to imagine that this movie does it well, the way that I like these movies to be done, because it has a strong enough theme, and I think it has a strong enough like I want to say like thread, a narrative thread throughout the whole thing, even though there was no actual narrative, but like there was logic that was tying in each of these shots, and I really hung on to that, and it made everything make sense to me.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of ideas that are conveyed in this movie.
Yeah,
or at least a lot of ideas that I got out of it. It was cool to kind of like have this movie just playing, and like for a lot of other movies, more narrative movies, traditional movies, regular documentaries, whatever, like I try not to let my mind wander very much. And especially even if it's like about like a theme in the movie, I try not to like ponder about it. I try to just take in the movie as it's being fed to me, as it's playing. But with this movie, it's different because there's not such a strong narrative that you have to remember like characters or plot points or things like that or contexts, that I felt like it was okay for me to have my mind wander and think about like humanity and like these ideas that are being shown in front of me, and these juxtapositions that the movie keeps making. So I would just spend these like periods where I'm like almost not even paying attention to the movie, but I'm just like thinking like philosophizing.
I think it's like I think it's like reading a poem, right?
Yeah.
When you read a poem, and there's different ways that you can enjoy the medium, but one of the ways that I do it is like I read part way through, and then I stop and I'm like thinking about it and digesting it. I'm like, oh, so that's what that says, and then continue, and then maybe read it again, just this time the whole way through. And I think it's when it comes to things like this, when it's just ideas that are just being presented in front of you in ambiguous form, I think it's just nice to just fall into it in pretty much any way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that is awesome. I like that kind of experience. Yeah.
So something I think about with this movie is that to make a documentary, you typically have to do a whole lot of collecting of imagery.
Yeah.
Right? You end up shooting way more footage than you end up using. And the ratio...
So you're thinking like how much this had extra?
Well, yeah. I mean the ratio of shot footage to used footage in documentary is way different from in a narrative where you have a script and you're only shooting what you're planning on using in the first place. And this was on 70 millimeter film stock.
Oh, wow. This whole thing was?
The whole thing.
Holy shit, dude.
So I'm just like, that had to have been so expensive.
Yeah. Did they have projections on these things? Like do they have logs of how much budget was in here?
I don't know. I mean, it was spread over 25 years, so
probably not.
I don't know. It made $6 million in its theatrical release.
That seems like
actually,
laughable.
Yeah, but that actually like impressed me.
Oh, really?
For this movie?
I suppose.
Like,
I don't know. I guess. I mean, because like I don't know.
Let's see. It says here that the budget was $4 million.
Dude, that's a profit, dude.
That is a profit. $4 million. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
what I'm assuming is that he probably had a very small. It was him and his camera and probably an assistant.
Yeah.
He's traveling, so he's taking trips a few times a year over a long period of time.
Right. And he spent all of it on film.
And mostly on film.
Right. That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah. So I guess $4 million in that respect.
$4 million worth of 70 millimeter film. That's what it is.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Jeez.
Yeah.
Is it pizza time?
I think it is pizza time.
Absolutely. There's a ghost in your house.
Spooky.
What kind of pizza is Samsara?
Whoa. That is
I got a question.
Yes?
To counter your question. What kind of pizza isn't Samsara?
I haven't thought about that before.
There's probably a lot of pizzas that it isn't.
Samsara isn't a bad pizza.
I could say, it's not a frozen pizza that hasn't been cooked.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
What kind of pizza is Samsara?
He asked that. Don't try to take his question.
That's my question, dude.
Sorry. My bad.
Okay, if Samsara was a pizza...
this is hard.
I don't even know. Oh, okay, I kind of have something. There was a pizza that our guest talked about that he ran into randomly. Do you guys remember?
Cameron?
Yeah. He said he ran into like a pizza that had balsamic vinaigrette with peaches.
That's hilarious. That sounds like Samsara.
Yeah. It actually sounds really tasty too.
Actually, you know what? Okay, I have a better pizza than that. It's from So it's from this place called Fire Street Pizza in Texas. Okay, it's managed by Jason Brumbelow.
Really?
A banh mi inspired pizza. Okay, banh mi inspired.
Wow.
With local honey, fire roasted pork belly, hoisin sriracha mayo, 3-cheese blend, pickled daikon root, seasoned fresh carrots, red onion, cucumber, and topped with fresh cilantro and jalapeno.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Samsara is a. It's probably like I feel like it'd be a very 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 healthy pizza, like a pizza that's like
Pizza that's very good for you.
There's no cheese on it. Like there's no like sauce. Even maybe it's just like buttered, like it's like a salad on a pizza, which like I'm saying that because like I don't know how I'm approaching this like pizza translation thing, because like is it a pizza that I personally would enjoy, or is it what kind of like because I would just say it's a pepperoni pizza.
It's an existential pizza.
Oh, it is an existential pizza.
That should be the name of a podcast.
The existential pizza.
Welcome to the existential pizza.
Yeah, it's
I'm
just,
your host.
It's like a wheat bread or something.
You know what I think is you know what we have to
wheat
think?
dough.
You don't speak healthy food.
What we have to do for you, Taylor, I think, is redefine a little bit, because if you were a regular person, okay, if you were normal, then
I would like more things.
there'd be an array of ingredients that you could partake in, and this would be quite different.
So that's kind of the approach I was trying to take, and so that's why I was trying to make it like a salad pizza.
Wow.
You're like, this
That's
is
what it
actually a
seems
really
like.
good pepperoni pizza.
Yeah. So it's a pepperoni pizza, a very good pepperoni
Perfect.
pizza.
That's great. That's great, man. That's really good.
Hey, you be you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right. So for me, I'm going to respectfully ask that you not criticize.
I'm going to criticize.
I know you are. I just know you are.
Is it a designed pizza? Because if it's not,
no. What this is a very very good Hawaiian pizza. That's what I feel here. Maybe there's some caramelized onion and pepper on there too.
There you go.
But especially some very ripe pineapple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and red pepper flakes. Yep. That's just...
Red pepper
killer.
flakes are good.
Oh, yeah. Especially with the sweetness of the pineapple. Those red pepper flakes are killer. Super good.
I don't know about pineapple.
Dude, a good Hawaiian pizza is a whole different thing from just a Hawaiian pizza. I'm telling you. Bro.
So you're saying it's like you get a Hawaiian pizza from Domino's. It's that.
Not like that. No. I mean, 400-pound man wearing a sarong. His
400 pounds.
Yeah, whose name is Chuck, has cut a pineapple with one of those things. Just dicing up pineapple, right? And like has a sweaty forehead.
And wipes it on
that pineapple.
Yeah.
It's okay if it falls onto the
Right.
pizza because it only adds to the majesty of this Hawaiian pineapple.
Yeah.
Eat me some of that Hawaiian sweat any day.
He's a Samoan guy. Who's cooking
He is
pizza.
Samoan. Yeah, he is Samoan. I just call them all Pollies.
Oh.
You know, the Pollies.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're about done here.
Yeah, I think we're done here.
What can we say about Samsara?
Good movie.
Good movie.
Good popcorn
Good
flick
movie.
for the family. Go check it out.
Riveting.
Popcorn flick.
Actually, it is riveting.
I thought it was
Whoa.
kind of weird that they
Tour de force.
Whoa, it is.
When
Yeah,
I went
it
to
is.
go play,
Damn.
when I went to go play the movie, press the play button. It said, "Not intended for
Children?
or whatever it was."
I know why.
Their rating.
Dead children.
It's because of this.
Dead children.
It has dead children in the movie.
It's because of the scene when they carry the guy in his gun coffin.
That was freaking insane, by the way.
Yeah.
And all the other coffins.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the other ones were crazy, but like, I love
Imagine
that
getting-
scene where they're
I
just
love
like,
that too.
they're
It's
just
a
walking
gun.
in this giant gun. It's like, what
Yeah.
the?
It's a coffin. There's a dead man in this
And
gun.
they're all like very somber about it, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's comedic.
It's
That was great, but there was nothing funny about it.
Right.
yeah. It's
That's what
just
made
like
it-
that was-
crazy.
That's what made it so
Bizarre.
funny.
very bizarre. It was kind of
Bizarre. That's what this movie is. Lovely. The lovely kind of bizarre. The
Aw.
most loveliest kind of bizarre.
What lovely bizarrety.
Yeah. David Lynch
David Lynch
David Lynch.
is a person.
is a director
And a writer.
and an artist.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. It just ends with us saying who David Lynch